Now, travelling often comes with a set of expectations. Maybe you've actually visited a destination you didn't know much about and it ended up being a total hidden gem. But in this video, I'm going to showcase 10 beautiful places that I felt was an absolute nightmare to visit. Now, the first destination might surprise you, but just hang on a moment. Rome, where the Spanish Steps and Trevi Fountain are two of the city's most iconic sites. Timeless beauty, elegant architecture, and of course, its historical significance. Now, the Spanish Steps are that sweeping staircase, framed by all these wonderful buildings. And the Trevi Fountain is an absolute masterpiece of Baroque art. Two experiences that you have to see. Now, Rome is literally one of the best cities you can visit. Hands down, I will always recommend it. But in reality, these spots are almost impossible to enjoy. The Spanish Steps are constantly packed, guards enforcing those kind of strict rules, can't sit down, no hanging around, no lingering, making it feel more like a checkpoint than a scenic spot. As well as Trevi Fountain. I mean, for me, it's even worse. Thousands of tourists crammed into the tiny little piazza and all fighting for a spot to toss a coin, while the aggressive vendors around you are just pushing souvenirs and you can barely get a good photo. Number 2 is Maya Bay, Thailand. Now, this continues to remain one of southern Thailand's most scenic natural escapes. So believe me, Maya Bay itself is stunning and one of the most picturesque places that you'll ever see. However, the busyness of it is horrendous. Completely overcrowded with tourists, and it feels like a giant tourist trap. There's not a single space on the water's edge. Reps everywhere yelling down on the microphones to hurry you up, and 30-minute queues to get off the island. It's chaotic. But once you manage to get past the queues and the waiting times and the hassle, it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you will really enjoy. The next destination is the Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. Now, visiting the pyramids is literally a bucket list experience. There's nowhere on earth where you come before some of the most iconic and ancient structures on the planet. Just the sheer size alone is quite surprising, and how they got those gigantic stones in place. But for many, and for me, the experience is quite annoying because of the aggressive scams, the pushy vendors that make the visit quite stressful. Just upon arriving, you're just harassed by relentless vendors. Whether you say no 1,000 times, it still just doesn't matter. I understand people need to make money, but still. And many force these kind of weird tactics, placing items in your bag, demanding payment, things like that. It's quite insane. And some will follow you until you end up saying, okay, let's do it. So overall, you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. But this is one of the things that you just have to deal with in Cairo. But once you get through all that, visiting the pyramids is still a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Hallstatt, Austria. So this will always be one of my favorite places to visit. The towering alpine mountains and the shimmering lake. Hallstatt is one of Austria's most picturesque villages and one of the most sought after Instagram photo spots. You see, the allure of this particular destination has spread far beyond Europe, particularly in China, where there's even a life-size replica of the village that was built in Guangdong. Now, you can imagine the influx of tourists, especially during the peak season. The village sees at least 10,000 daily visitors, and the worst thing is, there's roughly just under 800 residents. Now, you can imagine how packed it is, the cafes, the areas where you want to take a photo, the hotels, the B&Bs, it's an absolute nightmare. If you happen to time it right, it can be very pleasant, but if not, you do need a lot of patience. And the weird thing is, there's a nearby village called Giza, which also offers some spectacular alpine views, and no one really goes there, and I'm very surprised. So this is Trolltunga, Norway, one of the country's most iconic viewpoints. But let's talk about what it actually takes to get there. A 17-mile round-trip hike, and trust me, it's long. The steep inclines, the unpredictable weather, and just the sheer exhaustion alone means that by the time you reach the famous rock ledge, you're super tired. And then comes the worst part, the massive line just to take a single photo. So depending on the season, you could be standing there for over an hour, just waiting for your turn. So let me give you some advice. If you're doing it purely for Instagram, you might want to ask yourself if it's really worth the effort. Next up is Ha Long Bay, Vietnam. It kind of looks something like a dream, with its towering limestone casts, the emerald green waters. Even cruising through the bay, you'll be able to pass hidden coves, floating fishing villages, and misty covered islands that feel almost mythical. But the reality is, it's not as smooth and nowhere near as the peaceful escape that I was told. The once now pristine waters are full of plastic waste purely because of the sheer amounts of tourist boats and the people who are just, quite frankly, filthy. The over-commercialization of this particular destination has turned parts of the bay into a shitty traffic jam of tour boats. A big hassle. The Taj Mahal, India. Breathtaking symbol of love. The ivory white marble that glows under the changing lights of the day. There's even intricate carvings, the reflecting pools, and the symmetry makes it one of the most iconic and visually stunning monuments on the planet. But visiting this particular destination is anything but calm and serene. It is a massive headache. Massive crowds all start arriving even before sunrise and fighting their way just to get the perfect photo. And you'd be lucky if it's a clear day, because there's this weird fog that just lingers. The air pollution for me is, what can I say? It's shocking. And it's kind of made the once pristine white marble seem kind of crap. The experience of it alone feels rushed, crowded, and far from the peaceful moment that you would expect. Bali, Indonesia, and in particular, the swing. So quite high above Bali's lush jungle. The swing promises that thrilling view of rice terraces and tropical landscapes. You know, an Instagram favorite. but their swing is heavily commercialized. And with that comes the long lines of tourists waiting for their turn. And here's the thing, you want to experience this, but at the same time, do you really want the hassle? Sometimes up to an hour long, just for a few seconds on the swing. So as beautiful as the setting is, it feels more like a manufactured photo shoot. Skógafoss, Iceland. So this is actually one of Iceland's most majestic waterfalls. A towering 60-meter cascade that crashes down a heavily mossy cliff. And it often forms that shimmering rainbow in the mist. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the photos online. So the setting is wild, it's dramatic and loud, and it really is a must-see. But unfortunately, there are busloads of tourists that flood the area, and I was never aware of how popular that particular place was. It makes it quite nearly impossible to capture that peaceful moment. For me, I think it ruins the natural ambience, and it makes it feel more like a film set than a remote Icelandic wonder. So if I was you, I strongly suggest you hire a car and simply try and wander to other parts of Iceland. And I do have a particular video on that on the channel. And finally, number 10, the Acropolis in Athens. Now, the Acropolis stands as a testament to ancient Greek civilization, with the Parthenon's majestic columns offering sweeping views of the city. So it's easy to see why we all visit, or would want to. But if you think visiting this iconic site is going to be smooth sailing, then think again. It's completely crowded by so many people, and it makes it difficult to fully appreciate it. The queues are long and it is absolutely baking, and you do feel like you're squashed like sardines. But it's the ticketing process which is one of the most annoying things that you will come across, especially if you're British. For example, children under 5 from non-EU countries receive free entry all year round. But if you're British, if you're over 5, you're charged a full adult price, which leads to so many unexpected problems. The queues get longer and it's just a big mess. So I was around that when that was happening. But also, when you were issued tickets, they expired in 14 minutes instead of the usual 1 hour. So when you go for a short break or use the restroom, you get denied entry because the tickets have expired. So it's just a big mess. So make sure your tickets last the full hour. And there you have it, folks. That's the end of the video. I still recommend that you should visit these particular destinations, but those were the experiences that I felt were an absolute nightmare and kind of overshadowed the experience. So maybe you will have better luck. So for more videos, don't forget to subscribe and check out the playlist, because you may find a destination that you're interested in going. That's it from me. As always, be good, be kind, and be careful. Peace.